Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be taking you to the grocery store with me and kind of showing you how I grocery shop, what things I look for. Also, I'm gonna quickly show you how I kind of meal plan and make my grocery list for the week. So it is like almost 11 o'clock at night right now when I'm making my grocery list, and then I'm gonna go to the store tomorrow morning. So really quickly, I'm gonna kind of walk you through my process of making my grocery list and kind of quickly show you a few tips on how I save money and how I make sure that I kind of avoid food waste when I'm making my grocery list. And then we'll go to the grocery store and I'll show you what I pick out. So first things first, I go through my fridge and my pantry and I kind of see what I have on hand. And I use those items that I have on hand to kind of inspire what my meals are gonna be for this upcoming week. So let's do that. So I'm at my fridge and I've got my trusty notepad here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and kind of make an inventory of all of the foods that I have on hand. I'm starting with my fridge because these are the foods that need to be used up the quickest, because they're the things that are going to spoil or expire the quickest. So I'm gonna go through there and then I'm gonna try to make a menu for the week, like our dinners, that uses up everything in the fridge first before I even buy anything else. And then I'll just like make my grocery list of things that I need to add on to complete the meals, if that makes sense. Let me show you. Okay, so I made my list of everything that's in my fridge. I also went through my freezer and my pantry, and I made a list of everything I had. I also made some notes of things that I thought of as I was going through, especially my pantry. Like, I realized I need to buy rice and I didn't want to forget that. So I like made a note of that. I need avocados, things like that. So you can kind of make notes to yourself. This is all just like a piece of scratch paper basically. So make notes to yourself, whatever you need. But I made a list of everything that I have. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull from this list, starting with the stuff in the fridge, because remember, we're prioritizing that so that we don't let any of this go to waste. And I'm gonna make my meal plan for the week in terms of my dinner. So we're starting with dinners and then we'll kind of work backwards with breakfast and lunch and things like that. So I've got my big calendar here. Obviously use whatever works for you. This is just where I like to put our weekly menu over here. So I'm gonna go through each day of the week and write down what we're gonna have for dinner that day. Keeping in mind that, you know, Friday night we might be going out to eat, things like that. So, you know, work around your actual schedule so that this is realistic for you, but make notes of when you're gonna eat dinner any night that you're planning on making dinner at home. So then as I'm making my menu for the week, I'm also going to add in my little grocery section here what things I need to buy to complete whatever recipe that I'm making. So for example, on Tuesday, tomorrow, I'm gonna make pizza for dinner and use up our marinara sauce and some of our mushrooms and stuff like that. So I'm gonna need to I wanna purchase some basil and some spinach to add to the pizza. So I'm gonna add that to my grocery list down here, kind of as I go. So I'm just filling up my menu. I'm crossing things off as I use them up when I make my menu, and then I'm adding things that I need to my grocery list. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so here's what I came up with. I have pizza tomorrow night, barbecued chicken, and sweet potatoes and broccoli, which all of this is stuff I already have on hand, so I don't even have to purchase anything for that. Mexican bowls, which there were several things I had to buy for, or I will have to buy for that, including rice, avocado, taco seasoning, bell peppers, that kind of thing. But I already had the ground beef for that. Friday is my birthday, so actually we'll be eating out probably that day, so I didn't make any plans for that. Saturday, we like to do steak one day on the weekends. So steak, salad, and potatoes. So all three of those things are things I'm gonna have to buy at the grocery store. So steak salad, I like to buy a little salad kit, something that's kind of a treat. I have pasta already, so I'm gonna buy some zucchini to do zucchini noodles to go with my pasta. And then I already have like Parmesan and stuff for that. I will buy probably another container of marinara sauce. And then I also put in some cashews and an extra thing of basil so I can make some homemade pesto to go with our pasta. So good. And then I know we'll have leftovers because this is a lot of food. So one of these days I'll be able to do leftovers. So I just put it on Monday, but I might end up kind of switching some of these around just depending on, you know, when the leftover day occurs. Okay, so that pretty much takes care of our dinner. And then all we need to do is make sure we have what we need for breakfast and lunch. So for breakfast, we do the same thing every day within a week's time. So we may mix it up from week to week, but within a 7-day span, I just do the same thing. It just really simplifies life. It's cost effective because then you can just buy 7 days worth of whatever you want for breakfast that week and go through it all before you buy something else. And I just think it's the best way to do things. So that's what I always recommend to people. So we're gonna do eggs and hash browns and roasted veggies this week. It's kind of our go-to breakfast. Brian and I both really like it. So I do need to buy all of those ingredients. So some eggs, some shredded hash browns, the frozen kind, and then I'll probably do some extra bell peppers. I do already have bell peppers on my list, but I'm just gonna make a note to buy some extras for our veggies for that. And then for lunches, honestly, a lot of our lunches end up being leftovers from dinner because I always make extra of whatever we're making for dinner that night. And so our lunch tends to be like leftovers from that. But I also do like to buy a little something so that we have something on those days when maybe we're out of leftovers for whatever reason, or we're not feeling like eating the same thing 2 days in a row. That happens too. So I am gonna buy an extra cucumber and some grape tomatoes and some dill. I'm gonna make my Mediterranean salad basically for our lunches for any of those days when we kind of need to fill in the gaps from times that we don't have leftover dinner. So I've shown my Mediterranean salad in a video. I'll link it up here in the card so that you guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, but that's what I'm gonna make. It's kind of our go-to lunch lately. We haven't gotten sick of it yet, so I'm just gonna keep on that kick because it's a really great healthy lunch. So I'm gonna make sure we have ingredients for that, ingredients for breakfast, and then we really don't snack all that much. I do have some baby carrots and hummus in the fridge, which is a good snack. And I also like to keep ingredients for chocolate chip cookies on hand because that's kind of my go-to treat when I have a sweet craving. But I've got all that on hand, and honestly, that's about all the snacking that we do. We really just try to stick to like whole meals. So that's about it for our grocery list. Obviously, you know, you can tailor this to fit your lifestyle, but hopefully these principles are helpful for you because I think they remain true no matter what your like family size is or your food preferences or whatever. Just the idea of like going through your fridge, pulling from that to make your menu for the next week, and then kind of supplementing with groceries that you need. That's kind of my basic principle. I transferred my whole grocery list over into the notes app on my phone. I added in those items that I talked to you about for breakfast and lunches, and I organized everything in order of like where they are in the store. I have all my produce grouped together, my pantry things, my meats, my eggs, that kind of thing, all like grouped together in categories in my list. That way when I'm going through the grocery store, I can just check off everything in the produce when I'm in the produce section and stuff like that. It just helps me get through more quickly, and you save money if you get in and out of the store faster because you don't end up getting tricked into buying all those little impulse buys they put on every corner. So that's my whole grocery planning process in a nutshell. I will see you at the grocery store tomorrow morning in 3, 2, 1. Hi guys, it's the next morning. I'm sitting in the parking lot of my grocery store. I'm going to Sprouts today. I love Sprouts. I feel like it's one of those grocery stores that people just don't talk about enough. They don't give it enough credit because they have the best produce. At least at my Sprouts, I feel like the produce is such good quality and it's so fresh. I always know if I get my produce at Sprouts that I can rest assured that none of it is gonna go bad within the week before I do my next grocery shopping. It's always so fresh and the prices are amazing. I think sometimes people think of Sprouts as like a health food store, and most health food stores are expensive. And I will say that if you go through the aisles like of their pantry stuff, that stuff is expensive and overpriced. But if you stick with just their produce prices are on par with like Aldi and Walmart and stuff like that, but the quality is so good. So while I'm inside the grocery store, I'm gonna get a ton of footage for you and do a voiceover because grocery stores are just kind of noisy and I want you guys to be able to hear me. I'm gonna be wearing a mask, so I'll do a voiceover for that part, but I'm gonna kind of walk you through my thought process when I'm picking out groceries, that kind of thing, so you can just get an idea of what I look for. I started out by picking up some fruit. I like to grab some fruit every week as a snack, and I kind of just do it based on whatever is on sale and or what looks good. I love shopping the bulk bins at places like Sprouts. You can get such good deals on nuts and seeds and grains and stuff like that. 3 for $1 cucumbers, just one example of the great deals you can get at Sprouts. Then I just picked up some fresh herbs. I love cooking with fresh herbs. They make things taste so delicious. So this week I got some basil and some dill. I ended up grabbing organic spinach, really just because they were out of the regular spinach. It's a little bit pricier. It's not what I would normally buy. At least they did have a deal on it, but is what it is. Got some little baby potatoes. These are a little bit pricier than regular potatoes, but they're kind of a treat for us, so I went ahead and grabbed them. Just grabbing some more veggies here. And then things started to go downhill. All their colored bell peppers were not in good shape. Their zucchini was looking pretty rough. I had forgiven them for the spinach thing, but at this point I kind of gave up. Okay, that was so weird. The day that I get on camera and brag to you guys about how great Sprouts produce is, they had probably like the worst selection of produce I've ever seen in their store. They did have some good things, like you guys saw the 3 for $1 cucumbers, and I got some cotton candy grapes that were, I think they were like $3, which for cotton candy grapes, that's actually a good deal. Those are so expensive, but they're so good. We'll talk more about those later. But like the zucchini looked awful. There were hardly any bell peppers left and they were all awful. Like, I don't know, that was just weird. So I'm gonna go to Aldi. I was gonna go to Aldi anyway because it's right across the street and that's where I get like my pantry items and stuff like that, because like I said, the pantry items at Sprouts are overpriced. So I just hop across the street to Aldi and get all that kind of stuff. And well, it looks like we'll be getting some of our produce there too, because Sprouts let me down today, which is such a bummer. I was hoping to show you all the amazing produce at Sprouts, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So let's go to Aldi. That's my angelic choir because Aldi is the best. I got some avocado. I got like a variety of different ripeness of avocados so that I would have some that are ready now, some that are ready later. And I had some great luck. Great produce selection at Aldi today. Should have honestly just gone here. I got suckered into this treat. It just looked so good. And I picked out some steak for us this week, some garbanzo beans or chickpeas, same thing. Done at Aldi. Hopefully the footage I got isn't too bad. There were employees everywhere, which isn't really normal for Aldi, but good for them, I guess. There were employees everywhere, so I felt like I couldn't really film that much because I didn't want to get caught and get kicked out. So hopefully you could at least kind of see what I was doing there, and we'll go back home and I will show you everything laid out and quickly do a little recap. Okay, we're back from the grocery store. So in front of me, I have all the things I bought at Sprouts. Like I said, I really wasn't blown away by the selection at Sprouts today, which is a real bummer because normally I love them. But real quickly, I'll quickly go over some of the stuff I got. So you saw they had a deal on these spinach things. So I got 2 of them so that I could get the little 2 for $6 or whatever it was. So I got one that is baby kale and spinach, one that is baby arugula and spinach. I love arugula, especially on salads. And then kale and spinach is great for like cooking. It's also great for smoothies, stuff like that. So I'll probably freeze a little bit of this so that I could use it in smoothies in the future and so that it doesn't go to waste. And then we'll use this on salads. So that's what I got. I also got some cashews. I use these, or I got them with pesto in mind. So traditionally, pesto is made with pine nuts, but pine nuts are so incredibly expensive and cashews work just as well. They're like a soft nut, kind of like pine nuts are. And so I just usually use them to make pesto instead of pine nuts. They work just fine, and then they're also yummy to snack on. for whatever we have left over after I make the pesto. Got some fresh herbs, and then I have to talk to you a little bit more about cotton candy grapes. If you've never tried cotton candy grapes, what are you doing? You are missing out. They're so delicious. They are a little bit pricier, so that may be why you never chose to try them, but they're worth it. I'm telling you, at least once you have to try them. I was looking it up on my way home. I was like listening to a YouTube video about it on my way home because I wanted to know what makes them so special. And it turns out the cotton candy grapes are really just like a result of some grape breeding or like cross-pollination that resulted in delicious tasting grapes. I thought maybe they were like genetically modified in some way, but they aren't. They're just made special, and they're apparently really difficult to grow properly and harvest properly because it's really hard to tell when they need to be harvested, and so it takes the trained eye, and that's kind of why they're so expensive. They're so good though. They legitimately taste like cotton candy, especially after they've been in the fridge and they're cold. So good. Got some grape tomatoes. I buy grape tomatoes pretty much every week. They're great in salads. They're great in like a cucumber salad dish. They're great on pizza. They're great in pasta. They're so perfect for everything, and they're just yummy to snack on. Got some cucumbers, some baby potatoes, and then the only kind of bell peppers that they had that didn't look disgusting were green bell peppers, so I got a couple of those. And my total for my Sprouts visit was $38.39, which might sound a little bit pricey, but keep in mind I did get cashews and I splurged on the cotton candy grapes and 2 things of greens, so I think that's kind of what brought the price up a little bit higher than usual. Now on to my Aldi finds. I ended up doing most of my grocery shopping at Aldi this week because Sprouts let me down. So first of all, just so I can get this out of the way so you can see everything else, I did buy a little bouquet of flowers. I thought these were so pretty, and they were only $3.99, so I had to have them. And then let's go over the food. So I got some avocado, some steak. We have pretty much decided that we're gonna have steak every week because Brian and I made steak last week. I talked about this in my last video, but it was so delicious. I marinated it in like a million different things. Actually, I think I'll show you guys today because I'm gonna go ahead and start the marination process of this steak today before I put all my groceries away. So I'll show you guys what I do to marinate it because, oh my gosh, it was the best steak I've ever made. It was so good. So we're gonna do that again this week. And then I got some bell peppers, which is kind of our go-to vegetable. Honestly, we use it in like scrambled eggs in the mornings. We use it for Mexican food, stuff like that. So delicious. I also fell for this, some Snickers ice cream cones. Definitely not healthy, but oh my gosh, it just looks so good. So a little summertime treat there. And then I got traditional marinara sauce just for our pizza. I like a thicker sauce on pizza instead of doing the thinner pizza sauce. I like to use a marinara sauce like what you would use on pasta. I just think it tastes better, so that's what I do. I got some green beans just to have on hand. And then I also got several things of garbanzo beans. I use garbanzo beans in my Mediterranean cucumber salad that I make every week. So I got a few cans of those just to stock up. Got some taco seasoning for our Mexican bowls, some zucchini. I'm gonna spiralize some zucchini in with our pasta this week. So that's what I got that for. A bunch of eggs. We go through a ton of eggs. We eat them every single morning. So I've got that. And then I got 2 different salad kits. One is a sweet kale chopped salad kit with a poppy seed dressing. And then one is a Caesar chopped kit. So just a basic Caesar salad. I thought they both looked good. And it's just such an easy way to get in some vegetables on the side of a dinner here and there. And then I got instant rice. You guys know I love my instant rice. It's just so convenient. Obviously, if you're someone who's picky about your rice, this may not be your thing, but I just think it's so convenient. You do pay just a little bit more for the convenience of instant rice, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still very inexpensive and a great way to add some good complex carbs into your meal. And then last thing is not a grocery thing, but they had a really good deal on this electric toothbrush, and Brian really needed a new electric toothbrush, so got that for him. And our total, let me dig out my receipt here. Our total at Aldi was $76.91, so almost $77 here, and then the other one was $38, so that's $115. that I spent on our groceries for the week, and this will last us at least a week, if not longer. So that's pretty average. If anything, it's a little cheaper than normal, which is great. So that's our groceries for the week. So now I'm going to put all this away, and then I'm gonna show you how I marinate the steak so that it will be absolutely delicious when we're ready to eat it. So I've got my flowers in their pretty little vase. If you need flower vases, go to your thrift store and buy them there, because every time I've ever been to the thrift store, they've had an incredible selection of flower vases. So don't spend money buying them at like a regular store. Go thrifting and buy them there. You can get so many good deals on some really pretty little vases. But to kind of cut my flowers and prepare them, I cut off the ends and I cut them at an angle. I don't know if you can see that, but I cut them at an angle so that they can suck in a little bit more water and stay hydrated. And then I also cut off all of the leaves that would be in the water, because if you leave the leaves in the water, they're gonna like get slimy and gross, and your flowers are gonna die faster. So if you cut off all the leaves that are gonna be inside the vase, inside the water, your flowers will last longer. Okay, so I've got everything to marinate the steak. I'm gonna actually let it marinate for 2 days. So we'll eat this 2 days from now. I find that the longer you can let it sit in all of these flavors, the better it's gonna taste. So I've got my container that I'm gonna put it in. Normally I use like a glass container that has an airtight seal, and that's what I would recommend. But all of my glass containers are currently being used with other food in my fridge. So I'm just using a plain old plastic one today. It should be fine. But if you have a glass airtight container, that's what I would recommend. So I've got some orange. I'm actually going to take my cheese grater and get some zest off of this orange to get even more flavor. And then I'm also going to slice this up and put orange slices in with my steak. I have some onion chopped up that I'm gonna lay in here with it just to get that flavor in there. I've got some fresh herbs. I'm using rosemary and thyme. You can use whatever, but I find that rosemary and thyme both are good, like hearty, sturdy herbs that stand up well to really robust foods like steak. So rosemary and thyme are what I'm using for my herbs. I have some minced garlic. I'm gonna use a little bit of Dijon mustard, some salt, some pepper, a little bit of onion powder, A1, a little bit of just some cooking wine, and a little bit of olive oil. So I kind of honestly just go through my fridge and my pantry and pull out anything that has great flavor that I think would taste good on a steak and just throw it all in there. So you don't have to use this exact combination. I don't use this exact combination every time, but I just kind of pull anything that has great flavor. I try to make sure I have some things that are a little bit more tart and like either citrusy or vinegary, and some things that are a little bit more like warm flavors like the rosemary, as well as like some garlic or onion or things like that. So we're gonna put this all together and then let it sit in all of these delicious flavors for a couple days before we make it. So now let's start to assemble everything. I'm gonna start with my liquids and get those all in there first, and then I'll add my seasonings and other stuff. So I'm gonna add some A1 steak sauce, the classic, and throw that in there. Make sure it's on both of my big slabs of meat. And then I'm gonna kind of rotate things around here just so that it gets on every side of our meat. I just like to get my hands in there, and then afterwards I take a disinfectant wipe and wipe down all of like my bottles and my seasoning jars and stuff, because obviously I've been touching raw meat and then I touch them. So I just disinfect it all when I'm done. That way I can just get my hands in there and make sure this seasoning gets everywhere. You can also use gloves if you're grossed out by it, but it doesn't really bother me. Next is our sherry wine. You can use like real wine if you want, instead of like a cooking wine. If you want to be a little fancier than I'm being right now, red wine would be great. That would be my recommendation if you're gonna use real wine. But again, just making sure it gets on every part of the meat. And then our last liquid is a little bit of olive oil. I don't use a ton, but just enough to get some flavor in here. Next up is our seasonings. I like to use a lot of salt. I think the key to getting good tender steak is a lot of salt. You really have to use a lot to tenderize the meat. It actually like changes the texture of your meat when you cook it. So don't be shy with the salt. You really go at it. This is not a low sodium meal. And then I'm adding pepper and I'm adding onion powder. You can also use garlic powder. You could use like chili powder if you want to kind of mix it up and add some extra flavor. Whatever seasonings you like. If you have like a proper steak seasoning, that would be the perfect thing to use. Just whatever you have on hand is fine. So if you haven't noticed, my general approach to cooking is just kind of making it work with whatever you already have in your kitchen. I'm not really a big recipe follower. I mean, I think they're great, and I tend to see them more as guidelines than as like hard and fast, you have to put exactly this ingredient in this way. Obviously, if you're baking, that's a little bit different, but with cooking, I just feel like there's so much wiggle room and you can make things work even if you don't have exactly the perfect ingredients on hand. Now I'm just adding in my orange zest, sprinkling that on both pieces of meat, on both sides of both pieces of meat. And then I'm gonna go in with my garlic, my fresh garlic or fresh minced garlic. It's not actually fresh. And then as well as my Dijon mustard. Now that my meat is thoroughly seasoned, I'm gonna rinse off my hands and then I'm gonna add in my herbs, my fresh onion, and then I'm going to slice up this orange and add that in as well. So I put like my onion and my herbs and stuff, I put some of it underneath, like on the very bottom of my container, in between my two slices of steak, on top. I kind of go crazy and put it everywhere. As this sits all together, it's gonna absorb all of the delicious flavors of these herbs, these onions, these oranges, all that good stuff. So the more the merrier. Also, I think I forgot to mention, I got a top sirloin steak, which is a pretty low fat, a pretty lean cut of steak, and it's not super expensive. So that's kind of my go-to. I feel like it's a pretty yummy cut of beef for a decent price. So here it is, my steak in all of its glory. It's not super appetizing looking right now, but it will be so delicious when we eat this in a couple of days. So a few quick steak cooking tips. Now, I'm no expert by any means, but I'll tell you a couple of things that I do. So if we're cooking it inside, which is what we do normally, and not on the grill, if you have a grill, that's the way to do it, but we don't. So we cook it inside. I make sure that I get my skillet really hot before I put the steak on the grill, because then or on the skillet, because then it can get really brown and crispy on the edges without getting like dried out through the middle. So that's what I do. I also do use butter. I am a Kansas City girl, and I just feel like that's how we make our steaks in Kansas City. You have to use butter. I feel like it would almost be like sacrilegious of me to try to healthify my fats and like use some other kind of oil, because steak and butter, they're like a match made in heaven. So I do use butter on our steaks and then just let it sit. We like our steaks like medium well. So I sear it on one side for about 4.5 minutes and then flip it and do the other side for about 4.5 minutes. And that's for a medium well steak. But if you like yours a little bit more rare or a little bit more well done, you can adjust your time accordingly, but that's 4.5 minutes on either side will get you a medium well steak. So that's kind of a base point for you. But yeah, we serve ours with some form of potatoes, either roasted potatoes or mashed potatoes, and either a big salad or some green beans or something like that. And it's such a great, like, hearty meat and potatoes kind of meal that is really, really delicious. All right, you guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing kind of how I menu plan and meal plan for the week, as well as how I grocery shop and what choices I make. If you liked this video, or if you think my little sleeping dog is cute, click that like button down below and hit subscribe so you don't miss any videos from me. Also, click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified every time I post a video. I have new videos every Monday and Friday, and I'd love to have you guys around. I'll see you later. Bye.